Very good evening. I'm genuinely in a state of shock with what's just taken place. And I think what I need to do would share with you some context so you actually understand what's at play here. Sir David Amess was murdered. He was assassinated by an Islamist terrorist. Of that there is no doubt now. The Somalian lad hunted him down at a church where he was holding a surgery, and everything that's come from the witnesses is that he was stabbed multiple times and the guy sat down and waited to be arrested. And what's took place is this astonishing attempt by Jim McMahon and his mates in the mainstream media. They call themselves centrists. They're not. They're communists. They might as well be fascists. Because what they're trying to do is use this horrific murder of a member of parliament and twist it in some vindictive, vicious way in which somehow we are being held responsible for what's took place, and they want social media reformed. And every one of these centrists are doing everything they can to avoid what has really taken place here. And that is a terrorist attack. And the implications of that terrorist attack are so far-reaching for people in towns like ours that McMahon, Arud Shah and all the others have launched a vicious attack attempting to influence the police, never mind social media, influence the CPS into having me silenced. And what we have in Oldham is an MP, that's right, not just an MP, the shadow minister, Keir Starmer's shadow minister, one of the most powerful men in the country, and directly involved in attempting to influence law and order. And let me unpick this for you.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
When I spoke to you all on Sunday, and I even released an edited video on YouTube for everyone to watch on Monday. I spent all Monday putting that video together, so if you haven't watched it, please do go and watch it, because you'll see context matters. I always say context matters. My alarm on Sunday night wasn't to use the killing of Sir David Amess to score cheap political points. My concern was on the growing Islamification in our communities in towns like Oldham, and how that growing Islamification was in part a result of the pandering of those who rely on a core Muslim bloc vote, and also in part on the failure of the government's Prevent programme and the channel referrals. And those of you who listened to me on Sunday night will know I spent considerable time explaining why Prevent needed overhauling and why channel was failing, and the significance and importance of we as a nation flexing our muscles and having a more robust promotion of our values and our way of life. That's what I did on Sunday night. And I think even my critics will be forced to acknowledge that in my town, if there is a voice who is loudest in standing against the jihadists and the Islamists, that voice is mine. To the point where Islamists linked to the Labour Party have directed or tried to incite my killing. Because that's what Qasim Lenny's reference to me as a gay Christian convert meant. We've seen NEIL WILBY post pictures of the front door of my home and claimed that I am a police informant. We've seen Councillor Shahid Mushtaq's brother, the out-of-control Tahir Mushtaq, not content with calling my dying mother a prostitute multiple times, pay 192 so he could get my home address and publish it online. Just days before the killing of Sir David Amess, I was followed from my home and Irish Imi, who is on a 5-year restraining order from coming anywhere near me, ignored his restraining order, hunted me down, stood in front of me and videoed me whilst he tried to intimidate me and started shaking on the verge of violence before I cried out for help to a passerby to call the police. All of these crimes committed against me have been covered up by Greater Manchester Police. Some of you, and I mean this with respect, think some of this is funny and treat it as a game. To me, it's not a game. My life is at risk, and the lives of my family members is also at risk. They tampered with my sister and my brother-in-law's car, and the consequences, if they had been successful, would have been the murder of both my brother-in-law, my sister, and the 3-year-old daughter and 5-year-old son, my niece and nephew. They tried to kill them. Greater Manchester Police refused to go out to a crime scene of attempted murder. And the reason why Greater Manchester Police are blocking all of these crimes against me is because McMahon, Arud Shah, Gail Granger, Irish Imi, NEIL WILBY, Tahir Mushtaq, and every Labour Party politician and multiple council officers in the town hall are trying to force through me being charged for a combination of malicious communication against Gail Granger, who, within hours of me giving testimony against Irish Imi, she took to Facebook to intimidate and threaten me. Never mind what she's been doing since. And the police didn't even have the courage to tell me anything about the second investigation, which is apparently a racially motivated public order offence, but they couldn't even work out what the racially motivated element was. But on my bail sheet, the name Arud Shah appears. So no, this is not a joke to me. I know the odds are stacked against me. I can see how this is being played out. So it was no surprise to me when I saw Jim McMahon's epic rant earlier, attempting to exploit the assassination of an MP and twist it into something that I have got to do with it, and telling a whole host of lies on Facebook. That the shadow transport minister is attacking a member of the public in the way he is and aligning himself with the people he is should be cause for concern, not just to us here, but to people across this country. His brazen associations with mobsters, criminals, sex offenders. It should cause concern across the country. So McMahon's latest rant came before I'd even spoken to my solicitor. I meant to be at the police station on Thursday. I'd barely got off the phone with my solicitor and Wilby was posting that my bail had been extended and my curfew continues. Bear in mind, I am not a criminal. I've not been charged with any offence. Greater Manchester Police are bent. They've got themselves trapped, cornered, having not fought through the consequences of what they were doing when they hammered my door down with 6 police officers. It's been 3 months, 4 months now since my arrest. And McMahon's rant was because he didn't get his way. This man is a bully. He's used to getting in his own way. And he was hoping that I would be charged on Thursday. So clearly someone has told McMahon and Wilby before they'd even told my solicitor. So someone from Greater Manchester Police, the very same Greater Manchester Police who were talking to Wilby and the Oldham Times about my arrest whilst I was still locked up and denied a phone call, from which the Oldham Times ran a headline that I'd been charged with child sex exploitation. Complete fallacy. So let's look at what he said, because it's significant. It's really, really important what this man is doing. And the coordination here. Greater Manchester Police should not be feeding Oldham Council, McMahon or Wilby any information. That they are, and what McMahon is publicly saying on social media, is a disgrace, because what he's trying to do is bully, not just me, but he's trying to bully the police and he's trying to bully the CPS. And my position on Sunday night was we need to do more in our country to protect our democracy. We need to go to the heart of this Islamist extremism and deal with it. And this is what he did. Paragraph 1 and 2. He tries to put in context by the killing of Sir David Amis. No, it wasn't a murder. It was an assassination by a terrorist. Why is the MP not using the word Islamist terrorism? Why is he refusing to call it out for what it is? These are Islamist extremists. Why is he avoiding saying that? And then he jumps onto social media, acts as more than a platform. There is no evidence that social media had anything to do with the assassination of this MP. In fact, the evidence is it was an Islamist extremist that did it. And that the very conditions that exist where this young man was radicalized and went on to kill an MP exist in our town. That's what the MP should be talking about. But no, he's not. He's twisting it and making it all about him. It beggars belief that my child watching the TV is protected by a 9 p.m. watershed barring bad language, but they can see obscene abuse, false accusations and death threats against their political parent. Well, you know what? Take Facebook off your children. And he's making about him the victim. Him the victim. Him the victim. And an Oldham perspective. How dare he? Most of the content is originated by Raja Mir, a failed former free school CEO who was taken to task over safeguarding concerns and allegations of financial irregularities at the school he ran. The sentence he omits. The safeguarding concerns were raised by McMahon maliciously, falsely, and I was found to be at fault of nothing to do with safeguarding. Zilch. Financial irregularities, again, nothing. Zilch. Mia is currently on police bail for racially aggravated public order and malicious communication offences. No. I am on police bail. Have I been charged? No. But is welcomed onto platforms including Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. What McMahon is stating in that sentence is he wants the rule of law bypassed. Just because you and your mates can direct some bent police officers to come and arrest me does not mean that the rule of law has not got to be followed. It has to be followed. This is a democracy. This is not Pakistan. How many times do I have to say this is not Pakistan? This is North Korea. This is not China. This is a liberal Western democracy and the rule of law applies. The police have to charge me. I have to go to court. I have a right to a trial. And just because him and his mates have had me arrested, falsely, maliciously, on fabricated charges, politically motivated in an attempt to silence me, they think Facebook, Twitter and YouTube should censor me. How does that work in a democracy? How does that work in a democracy? Is that what we're in Oldham? Anyone who questions the political establishment is taken out. So we now know where Sean Fielding got it from, don't we? Greater Manchester Police are refusing to investigate crimes against me and my family. Evidenced. Yet they are leaking news to McMahon and he's got angry that I haven't been charged. And is freely drawing in subscriptions and donations for his content through Buy Me a Coffee, PayPal and Crowdfunder UK. So, effing what? You're freely drawing in hundreds of £1,000s worth of expenses. The entire town can see how fat you're getting. So what if people here see me as an opportunity to stand up for them and are willing to support them? So what if the people of my town see me as their voice and are willing to stand by me and support me so I can keep my lights on and so I can pay my subscriptions to keep my channel going? So what? Is this a democracy or not? Is this a democracy or not? How dare he? Oh, we're past that, David. We're past that. The real consequences of this online campaign of hate are profound. So we're clear. So we're clear. He's claiming he has reported threats of his partner's workplace being published. I don't even know who his partner is. Or where the workplace is. Photos of my children being used in attacking posts. Never. Never. Home address being solicited and shared online. Here is Jim McMahon objecting to people threatening to use his home address shared online. And that scumbag is engaging with a man, NEIL WILBY, who is posting my front door online with claims that I am a police informant. Our movements when campaigning have been published. His mate, Irish Immy, Dale Cregan's getaway driver, and I use the term his mate because he was involved with him, gave him a reference whilst he was out on parole so he could carry on drug dealing in Oldham. His mate, already convicted, that I have a restraining order on, had me followed from my house so he could attack me. And why? And why did Jim make reference to crowdfunder? McMahon made reference to crowdfunder because I have raised from you, I've not forced any of you to give me money, I've raised from you £1,000 to produce leaflets and posters that we will distribute across the town and particularly target Chadderton South, where Arooj Shah is standing, to raise awareness of who she really is, her Gelato's Ice Lounge scam, the sale of Glodic baths in an attempt to rig an election, and all of her mobster mates. And the local council-funded press won't share this information, so you have given me and supported me so I can produce a series of leaflets that I will have delivered. Lawful. This is a democracy. We are allowed to do this. He's pretending to be a victim. He's twisted around the barbaric assassination of one of our MPs by an Islamist extremist, and he's saying nothing about Islamic extremism. Why? Why is he saying nothing about Islamic extremists? And twisting this to me, a man who has risked his life fighting Islamic extremists. I will be Greater Manchester Police, Pakistani mobsters, Wilby, McMahon, whoever. Tomorrow morning I will be out in Oldham, as I plan to be out every week. I will have my breakfast at Milano's about 10:30. And then in the afternoon I will be on my touring communities. I plan to be at the is it the Boat and Horses, I think, in South Chadderton. About 1-2 o'clock. Come and kill me. I really don't care. Come and kill me. Because my town will rise up and take it back. And if it's a price I have to pay, it's a price I will pay. Send your Pakistani mobsters. Send them with the knives. I've heard some poor bloke's been stabbed in Werneth earlier. Send who you want. We know the police won't protect me. They won't even protect my 3-year-old niece. Milano's in the morning. Boat and Horses in the afternoon. Wilby doesn't need to put a picture of my front door. Any one of you mobsters, come on. This page isn't blocked. I'm not McMahon. What this really is about is the growth of Islamist terrorism in our country. That's what this is really about. And they don't want to fight it. In the same way, they don't want to fight those that groom and gang raped our children. Now, you, whoever might disagree with my reasons why I think that is. But the facts speak for themselves. Oldham, Rochdale, Rotherham, everywhere else, Huddersfield, you name it, Bradford, Telford. The pattern is the same. And it goes beyond members of parliament. The campaign to target the former council leader with the most horrendous false claims that he was covering up child abuse in the town. He stood up and used the term barefaced lies. We all heard it. He stood up and said that. It is the same relentless campaign which has now driven him out of the town where he was born and raised. Where were you when your mobster mates were threatening to kidnap Debbie Cole and rape her? Where was the politicians then? Where were you, McMahon? Where was your outrage? With a new council leader in post, her ethnicity and religion are used to attack her further. with accusations that as an Asian Muslim woman, she represents a Muslim takeover of the town. No. First of all, no one has used her ethnicity or religion to attack her. Rather, she has used her ethnicity and religion, and the mainstream media that you are like that with have used her ethnicity and religion as a means to try and intimidate us into silence. Why are Greater Manchester Police refusing to provide an update into the firebombing of Arooj Sar's car? Every one of us is outraged at what took place and wants to see the police take action against those who committed this horrendous crime. McMahon almost immediately tried to frame me. And if that video hadn't been released, if the police had it, why did the police not share it with you? If the police are looking for suspects and videos come out, ordinarily they release the video hoping that you recognize the people in the video. It's a well-established tactic. So why was that video not released until I got hold of it and released it? Was it because it shows an unlocked car? Was it because it shows the window being smashed afterwards to make it look as though there was a break-in? Was it because the young lads who nearly blew themselves up whilst they blew up the car looked nothing like they were far-right activists? If I was a betting man, I'd bet they were of the same ethnicity and religion as her. Throughout the course of this misinformation campaign, several journalists have observed the growing conflict and stepped up to shine a light. NEIL WILBY. Yeah. Hannah Allotman, ex-Labour Party press officer. The cost for some has been significant in personal abuse, where they themselves are labelled as paedophiles and accused of being part of a fabricated conspiracy. Who's labelled any of these journalists as paedophiles? It wasn't me. It wasn't any of you. Who's labelled any of these journalists as paedophiles? He's just making it up. This is the shadow transport minister just making things up. Some have been threatened with being hunted down and some with violence. Well, then go to the police. Why haven't they gone to the police? And bear in mind, the only name he's mentioned in all of these allegations is mine. And most of this content is originated by Raj Amir, so thereby an implication that this has got something to do with me. In the last month alone, whilst out campaigning, we have been threatened, abused and accused of the conspiracy peddled by Mia. Namely that Labour Party politicians are part of a conspiracy to cover up child abuse to protect Asian abusers in return for votes. That the votes of white people are rendered worthless through organised cartels operating voter fraud, and that there is widespread corruption. Let's take each of these point by point. If you've been threatened and abused whilst out campaigning, it's because you've not been talking to the people who've been bringing the concerns to you. You've been blocking them on social media. You've been ignoring them when they try and get in touch with you. That's not my doing. That's not my doing at all. And what's this conspiracy peddled by Mia? Namely that Labour Party politicians are a part of a conspiracy to cover up child abuse. Let's pause there. Has Oldham Council been covering up the grooming and gang rape of children in our town? 1. Shabir Ahmed was an Oldham Council employee. 2. He was a member of the Labour Party. How many of you knew? How many of you knew? This grooming gang inquiry, if there was nothing to see, why are they still sat on it after 2 years and Beverly Hughes refusing to have it published? Andy Burnham holding it back. Why? Are all the victims that have come forward made it up? Were children not groomed and gang raped from the gates of Counthill School? So what is the conspiracy? And if it wasn't to protect Asian abusers in return for votes, what does community relations mean? You've all seen the email. Maintaining community relations. What do they mean by maintaining community relations? Are they to say that all of you white folk are so extreme and so racist that you'll go on the rampage? Do they think so little that the votes of white people are rendered worthless? That's not me just saying this. If the votes of white people weren't rendered useless, McMahon, why are you never knocking on white doors in Coldust? Why are you always out nibbling samosas with groups of Asian men? Why are you always visiting the mosques? Why aren't you at a church hall or a temple or a synagogue? Or a day centre, an elderly centre or something? Why are all the pictures of you out with Muslim men? Sometimes exclusively in groups of Muslim men. It's your actions that evidence me. This is not a conspiracy I'm peddling. Explain it. Why have you, in 3 years, not explained that sequence of emails between you and Kevin Fitzpatrick from the BBC where there's an agreement to use the funeral of Lee Rigby to cover up news of grooming gangs operating out of shisha bars? Why? As for organised cartels and voter fraud, the Electoral Commission identified Oldham as a hotspot. The Electoral Commission. The report from the Electoral Commission that I went through in one of my past transmissions specifically details how Asian communities are at the centre of this. It isn't me. It's the Electoral Commission. How is that me peddling a conspiracy? Oldham Council, whether it happens or not, are scheduled at the High Court for playing a part in rigging an election that the Chief Executive has admitted to her role. She claims it wasn't enough to sway the election. That council, irrespective of the High Court, the council should be launching an independent investigation to clear themselves. The Lib Dem councillor, Kenyon, passionately spoke at the last council meeting and wanted the council to adopt a series of standards held in high esteem across public sector organisations across the world. The council refused. As for widespread corruption, I don't think anyone's in doubt about widespread corruption in Oldham. Why is the Chief Executive run away? Why is the Deputy run away? Why is the Chief Planning Officer suspended for gross misconduct, then allowed to resign? Where have all the millions gone? Why were our assets sold at knockdown rates to Asian men who are seen out campaigning with Jim McMahon? He's a liar. If he said he knew nothing about email, he's a liar. Someone's apparently threatened to kill him and has been convicted. Good. It wasn't me. It had nothing to do with me. Do you think for 1 minute if it had anything to do with me, they would not have hauled me in by now? I have been clear and consistent from the beginning. We take them out at the ballot box. We use democracy to defeat tyrants. We vote them out. We vote them out. And apparently he's going to be writing some more posts in the coming future to draw light to what's going on. Right away, McMahon. Right away. I'll be writing as well, as is my democratic right. I'll be delivering leaflets. I'll be going out and meeting the people of my town. And my message to them is a message I've been promoting from the beginning. Trust yourselves. Believe in who you are. Believe in what you are. Our ancestors fought for the democracy we now enjoy. We faced tyrants. We faced them before. We can beat them. Outrageous. What has took place today is outrageous. And it'll all unravel for Greater Manchester Police. All of this will unravel for all of them. Because, in the end, my townsfolk, irrespective that I'm a Muslim, an Asian, My townsfolk know who is telling the truth and who is lying, and who is standing up for my town, our town, and who is trying to exploit it. And I go back to the beginning. We have a massive Islamist issue in our country. The killing of this MP won't be the last time this happens. We need to have the courage and the conviction to stand up for our democracy and our way of life. And that Jim McMahon, in his rant, not only trying to exploit the murder of this politician, Sir David Amess, not only did he try to exploit it for his own personal use, he avoided what matters here to all of us more. And every time this happens, people come forward and say, why did the Muslims not speak out? Well, here is a Muslim who is speaking out. But I don't see the white politician speaking out, do you? My name is Raja Mir. He omitted my MBE from the way he described me. They all do. 25 years of public service. Flawless record. Despite multiple attempts to frame me for crimes, threaten me, intimidate me into silence, have me assaulted, I'm still here. If you believe in the work, and you can, like the post, share the post. Come and see me tomorrow. Milano's in the morning. Boat and Horses in the afternoon. Ask me whatever you want. And should I be attacked? Should someone come and stab me? I leave it to you, the people of my town, to go out and just do one thing. Vote them out.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.